So today I'm going to be talking about some of these characters that I tend to like a lot for some reason. Oh, and before this video truly starts, this video will contain spoilers for a lot of these shows. If you haven't seen them already, I recommend that you probably stop watching now. So to start off, what do these characters all have in common? Well, to no one's surprise, it's because they are often called useless, irrelevant, and just overall don't feel like that they should matter in the show at all. Well, except for one of them, but I'll get into them a bit later. Alright, and starting off, we have Yamcha. And when I say Yamcha, I mean specifically Z Yamcha and Super Yamcha, really. Because at least with OG Yamcha, all of his losses are actually because he was dealing with people stronger than him. So for context, OG Yamcha was always considered kind of like a loser character. In every tournament he was in OG Dragon Ball, he pretty much just lost. But that's fine, because he was going up against people that were way stronger and outclassed him in every way possible. Then when Z happened, he died to a Cyberman. And that is by far the lowest point in his life, because at that point and onwards, it pretty much solidified what his character is in this show now. And then in later arcs, he would go on to die again or be the first one injured. But if you thought I was only going to talk about the bad things, boy, you're wrong. Because let's be honest, I'd be here for hours if I was only going to list all the bad things. Just let me read my one-page sheet on some of Yamcha's actual good qualities. Oh, I got it. He was the first one to date Bulma. Yeah, okay, even I have to admit, if that's your only W, there's probably a reason why you're on this list. But luckily for Yamcha, that isn't his only W. Also, they broke up as well. So, yeah. When he's not fighting to try and defend the Earth from random creatures that are probably going to try and kill him, he's a pretty good baseball player. And I think that's pretty neat of him. Oh, and if you want some funny gag feats that Yamcha possesses, he was technically the first one to land a hit on Beerus, the god of destruction, and it actually did something, kind of, and he can live to tell the tale. Like, yeah, anime only, but still, he did it. Oh, I know, the reason I talked about Yamcha first is because, fun fact, Yamcha's taken so many L's in his life that there's actually a super popular phrase that you can associate with him and other characters similar to him. It's called being Yamcha'd, which is both hilarious and super sad. Oh, and in Dragon Ball Super, he's basically no one. But whenever he does show up, he is often used for jokes. Oh well. And now we have Neo New Saratari-san Shingo, you know, the super ultra hyper strong duelist, who never really won unless it was filler or it just didn't matter. Hang on, let me explain why I like him. Well, for starters, he went through a decent character arc in Season 1 alone, where you realise that weak cards had their value, and the proof of this is that he has changed his deck a total of 3 times in Season 1. First he had the Dark Monsters, then he switched to Water Monarchs, then he had the really good Yosenjus, and then he just stuck with Abyss Actors for the rest of the show. And again, this can relate to many other people, but he is quite literally the Yamcha of his show, and potentially the Yamcha of all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And what I mean by that is that after Season 1, his only purpose in this show was just to lose to other duelists, and some of them weren't even better than him. And you can blame this guy for my love of weak characters, because before I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, I was sort of aware that he didn't really win a lot, and I was like, okay, this is Yu-Gi-Oh! Every character, unless you are absolutely just filler and don't matter overall, gets at least one somewhat significant win. And then after watching the show, he did not get anything at all. And again, this doesn't just relate to him, but again, there's nothing wrong with having a character that loses a lot. It's just when they lose so much, it gets to a point where you have to start questioning how seriously do you really want to take this character. And the thing is, if he was just a Season 1 character who would never appear again beyond a brief cameo, he probably could have been spared a lot of humiliation. But the thing is, they brought him back. He's a Lancer now. And every time you'll see him, you'll be disappointed. And he's so bad of a character, if you ever saw a preview of him about to duel, it's not even that big of a spoiler if someone were to tell you that he would lose it. His biggest L that he has ever taken is that one time during the last bit of an episode, we all thought that he was going to die, accomplishing absolutely nothing for the show in a filler arc of all things. Need I say any more? But you can't just kill off the comic relief characters, you need to have a guy who you're able to just laugh at. But just like Yamcha, he also has some skills that pay the bills and give the thrills. So let's give it up for everyone. Silvio. His biggest W, compared to some other characters, is that he was this close to beating the main villain at the end, Zark. He lost in the end, but hey, at least he got to be cool for a few seconds. After losing to Yuya for the first time, he kind of got a hang of the whole dualtainment thing. In other words, despite losing, he still enjoys wowing the crowd. He also self-proclaims himself to be Yuya's rival in a similar way to how Chaz Princeton would be Jaden's rival. But the difference is Chaz would be considered a rival to Jaden, while Silvio was just kind of a placeholder until Declan Akaba did something. He's pretty good at darts and, well, he is rich, so he's always got that to fall back on. Overall, as useless as he is, he's a pretty enjoyable and entertaining character. Well, most of the time. How did you lose on turn 1? You can't even attack on the first turn! Last and definitely least is the first girl that appeared on this list, and it's Aqua, the useless goddess. Okay, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. She's actually not as useless as I'm making her out to be. If anything, she's like the opposite of being a Yamcha. It's just she gets memed on for being the Yamcha of her show. In fact, she's so the opposite that she actually made me add another criteria to this list of weak characters that I made. Now I've got to ask, are they weak because they are weak and they just don't do anything in the show? Or are they only weak because everyone in the show and out the show says they are? Because the thing about Aqua in the show is that, well, to put simply, she has a low intelligence start. And because of that, she often makes rash decisions and gets her party into more danger than they should. The only reason why she's really considered useless is because when Kazuma picked her as his present to go into the other world, she lost all of her goddess abilities, spare maybe just a few high stats. She also has a low luck stat, but that doesn't really matter. She also has a high ego due to her goddess status, but even then, every single other character on the list has that, so that's not really unique to her. Oh, and second, no one believes her when she claims she's a goddess, because why would they? So what's her role in the show? Well, she's the healer, and just by saying that alone, she's already more useful than Yamcha and Shingo combined. So, yeah. Sucks to be them two, I guess. But of course, I wouldn't add her to this list if she didn't have her fair share of L's, and the one that comes to my mind first, normally, is the fact that despite being a healer, after a few quests, if Kazuma really wanted to, he could learn a few healing abilities, and then that would make Aqua completely useless. But he chooses not to because he gets that's her. Like, he bullies her and calls her useless like every episode when he gets the chance to. So maybe it's not caring. He just doesn't want to see her become truly useless. Oh, it's not just Kazuma. The rest of her party also bullies her as well and calls her useless. But enough about her teammates, back to her. A good example of her showing that she provides more danger than she does safety for her team is during when her and the gang went to a trip to the hot springs. As an archpriest, one of her abilities is that she can sense the undead, and during the trip, she does so. But the thing is, had she not been there, they wouldn't have needed to stop to deal with the undead, like at all. And of course, she gets a decent W. And not like Yamcha's and Shingo's where you have to try hard. I mean, she actually gets a decent W. In that same trip when they go to the hot springs, Aqua is one to defeat the villain in the end. Of course, with help and the others, but the town was saved. But the townspeople still hated her. A little bit. Well, at least she didn't have an instance turn into a cyber. Okay, you know what? Overall, as useless and annoying and just irrelevant. Okay, that's a bit of a lie. As much as that as Okra is, she actually is super useful for the team, and the team does care about her. To reference the show, her bad qualities outweigh her good ones. So why do I idolise these guys so much? Well, they taught me a very valuable lesson, and that lesson is, no matter how bad life is, it could be a whole lot worse. Bye, guys.